My wife, 38F, and I, 38M, are average busy parents with stressful jobs and stressful kids. Dina has two best friends, Shanna and Samantha, who live in different states. Last month Shanna asked my wife if she wanted to run a half marathon in Vegas. When Dina brought up going to Vegas, I said half-jokingly that I had never been to Vegas and she can't go twice before I had gone once. She asked if I meant it. I said yes. So she was like, okay, I guess we can work it out. Samantha and Dina's sister ended up going too. I later backed out, not wanting to be third wheel to a girls' trip. A few days after I backed out, my wife found out Samantha's husband Jim is going and asked if I still want to go. I excitedly agreed. A week later my wife asks me, hey, you're okay with sharing a room with my sister, right? I said no, I'm not okay with sharing a room. Why would we share a room? She explained that we would share a room with her sister to help save her and us some money. Apparently Shanna was going to share a room with Samantha and Jim. I said every single person going on this trip makes six figures other than your sister. Why would we share a room to save money? Why doesn't Shanna share a room with your sister? Why would we give up our privacy to save money? My wife was not having it and we fought over it but didn't resolve anything. The more I thought about it, the more it upset me. We don't go on enough dates. We've never been away from our kids for more than one night. Why would she feel okay with removing any chance at intimacy during a 4-day trip away from the kids? A week later I asked her thoughts on our Vegas trip. She explained that we wouldn't be spending any time in our room together anyway. Her last girls' trip, they never spent any time in their rooms. They only used their rooms to crash. This is a girls' trip and Jim coming along meant I would have someone for me, but it didn't change that this was a girls' trip. I argued that having our own room and privacy doesn't change the trip at all. Not sharing a room wouldn't change the dynamics of the trip, but it would at least create the opportunity for there to be intimacy between us, and that was important to me. Again, she wasn't having any of it. During the argument, my wife admitted that she had agreed to share a room before she had even asked me. She said someone had suggested it in their text thread, and she replied, I don't care. We didn't talk for a couple days after that fight. When we warmed back up to each other, she told me that she had told the group we wouldn't be sharing a room any longer. She thinks I am the a-hole because I forced my will on her. I think she is the R because she agreed to share a room without consulting me, tried to sell me on why that was okay, and ignored the importance of intimacy in our relationship. Comment 1. NTA, as someone who has lived in said city, and often stays at the resorts, I can tell you people do spend a fair amount of time in their rooms. For example, how long does it take your wife to get ready for a fun night out? How long does she sleep after that? How long before she wants to take a shower? How long before she wants to get all dolled up again? Oh, and drink lots of water. You have no idea how dry it is out here, and it will suck the fun energy right out of you. Comment 2. YTA. God, you sound exhausting. You invited yourself on a girls' trip because you were jealous she got to go to Vegas. Then backed out. Then changed your mind again. Where did you expect your wife to sleep when you weren't going? Why do you expect to be able to control this trip that isn't about you? You make enough money, you said so yourself, to take a proper trip with your wife. Don't ruin the trip you invited yourself along to. Comment 3. Let's look at everything. Your wife and her friend are going to do a half marathon in Vegas. A couple other friends decided to come. You are jealous because this will be your wife's second time in Vegas when you have never been. You end up being invited, but find out you will be the only guy, so you say no, I don't want go. So then you found out and the guy is going and you said yes. Now you want the dynamics of the trip to change. This isn't a romantic trip. This is a fun trip for a group of women, and you and Jim are just going to be there. Unfortunately, my friends and I have had things like this happen. The husband that came along wanted to change the plans, even where we were going to eat. You want to go to Vegas, plan a trip with your wife. Make it the romantic trip you want. My 29F sister Anne, 30F, has always been the golden child in our family. Our parents always went to her cheer competitions but didn't care that I was a straight A-B student. After high school, Anne met my now brother-in-law and had my niece, 7F. Anne gives my niece everything she wants. This has turned my niece into a bratty mean girl. She throws a tantrum if she doesn't get what she wants and they always give in. Anne makes passive-aggressive comments about how I don't have a husband and my niece has started imitating her. Every year our friend Joe hosts a Halloween party. The party is for adults but Anne always wants to bring my niece and do a family costume. No one says anything because she is so sensitive. The worst part is she always wants to include me in the costume but picks costumes that make me look bad. I think Anne is jealous that she used to be the pretty one but she gained some weight after having my niece. One year they were Scooby-Doo characters and they made me dress up as the Minor 49er. You get the idea. Last September and they were talking about SpongeBob Halloween costumes. Niece is a big fan. My niece said Auntie should be Squidward because she is so skinny and grumpy. They all laughed and agreed that my niece would be SpongeBob, Anne would be Sandy Cheeks, my brother-in-law Patrick and I would be Squidward. I came up with a plan. I said it was a great idea and acted happy when Anne dropped off my costume. It was this green onesie she sewed and my Bill's tan polo shirt. He's a big guy so it was unflattering. Meanwhile her Sandy costume was a skin-tight white bodysuit and squirrel ears. Secretly I prepared my own costume. I got a white crop top, brown booty shorts, thigh highs and high heel Mary Janes. I did my makeup to incorporate the SpongeBob color, yellow. As a cheeky joke I drew a heart tattoo on my arm and in the heart it said SpongeBob. Well, the day arrived and I showed up at the party in my costume. My niece started screaming and crying that I was wearing the same costume as her. Anne screamed I was traumatizing my niece by stealing her costume. I said SpongeBob is not her intellectual property so they stormed out. After they left my costume was a big hit. Lots of people complimented me on how creative and funny it was. I normally don't dress sexy but I admit it felt good. The next morning I woke up and had missed calls from my parents and our family friend Kevin, yelling how dare I upstage my niece. I calmly explained that Anne needed a taste of her own medicine and my niece needed a reality check so she won't become a spoiled narcissist. Things calmed down but Anne still won't talk to me, not that I mind lol. She's been posting on Facebook about traitors and Benedict Arnold. Last week she posted a picture of my niece at Disney World on Facebook with the caption, "If anyone hurts my sweet baby, they can catch these hands." Her post got a lot of likes and now I'm wondering. Comment 1, let me get this straight. In order to hurt your sister you humiliated her 7-year-old child in public by sexualizing a cartoon character. What are you, 12? Be the adult. Refuse if you don't want to participate, ignore if necessary, and if you need to argue, argue with other adults not children. You don't seem that different from your sister. Comment 2. You really didn't think to do a handsome Squidward? Otherwise YTA you effectively bullied a child when you could have just said no to the group costume. What exactly did your niece learn from this that would someone prevent her from becoming a bigger brat in the future? Comment 3. This was hilarious. You are 29 years old. Catering to a 7-year-old like that is nuts. You did exactly what was needed to put an end to that madness and I cannot believe the family actually joined into that silliness and came down on you. There is going to be no hope for that 7-year-old but you found your own voice this time around, good for you. Okay, so I'm a stay-at-home mom, 36. We thought it would be a nice experience to host an exchange student, so a person from Argentina has been staying with us. For the most part, things have gone great. She's in her sophomore year at a university nearby, and so she usually gets back from classes around the time my sons get home from school and we'll have dinner together, maybe do some tourism stuff on the weekends. There's just one problem. One very awkward problem. For whatever reason, she doesn't seem to wear pants that fit her. That's the polite way of saying that her thong is always hanging out. I'm talking like many Santus levels of whale tail going on. I had no idea that it was back in trend. I had thought I had left those treacherous days behind me, but apparently it's back with a vengeance. And just to be clear, I don't mean that her underwear is visible every once in a while when she bends over. I mean that her thong is right there, every time we get dinner in a restaurant, or go golfing, or meet friends. This places me in a pretty awkward position. She's 18, and she's not my kid, and it's against my general moral compass to tell other adults how to dress. However, I'm awfully tired of looking at a random person's bum floss in my own home. I did try talking with her about it, but she brushes it off as if it was just an accident. 10 or 15 minutes later, I see her casually lift the band of her underwear so that it's back to being above her pants. So, here's what I did about it. I needed to go run some errands and give her a ride to the post office. Only, as soon as we arrived at the grocery store, her eyes went wide when I stepped out of the car. In the back of my drawer, I had found the loudest, most bedazzled thong that I owned, and was wearing it a proud several inches above my own pants. I knew that the best way to make it uncool would be to adopt it myself. I could see her dying inside, but I pretended not to notice and told her how seeing her thong made me remember back to the 90s, how it was so cute and I was inspired to try it again, how fun it would be to whale tail together, etc. Needless to say, she didn't say very much for the rest of the evening. If her thong wasn't out of her pants, I would act pouty and tell her that it would be fun if we were matching. Since then, she's been really standoffish with me, to the point that other family members have noticed. Nobody but me knows about my little prank. It's making me start to wonder if perhaps it was too far. Comment 1. Nah, she can wear whatever she wants and so can you. I also think it's reasonable to not want to look at other people's undergarments when you're not swimming. Since I lived through the original whale tail days, that might be my trauma talking lol. However, she is somewhat dependent on you, and unlike a biological child, she can't roll her eyes and say come on mom. You're also the one who's supposed to be the mature adult. You've, hopefully, made your point. Try sitting down with her and talking about it now that she understands a little better what it's like to be with someone else doing it. Comment 2. As somebody who loves whale tails and is vehemently pro-thong, I think you are an absolute legend. Your scheme was super funny, super effective, and I give you a ton of respect for having the confidence to rock a whale tail in public yourself. She has zero reason to be mad at you, and if she has an issue with you showing a little thong, then it totally outs her as a massive hypocrite. You completely checkmated her, and I think having to deal with that is why she's being moody. She either has to accept that she was being disrespectful to you, or she has to admit that you are totally awesome. Either way, you win. The whole thing is just chef's kiss. Comment 3. NTA, it's a good way of showing her how the way she dresses looks to others. She's not your kid, but she is staying with you and you do have to be seen with her, and having your underwear showing is just not appropriate in most places. She probably thought she looked good showing off her thong at the grocery store until she got to experience seeing what she looked like from behind. Good work. Gonna keep this one brief. I am a college student, so I had a way of signing up for Peacock Premium for a reduced rate. I originally got it for the FNAF movie, but I have branched out. They also have La Brea, which is a mom and I show. Plus I have engaged in some of my guilty pleasures. Trolls movie series. That said, since FNAF holds a special place in my heart, the PFP I set for myself is Freddy Fazbear himself. Either way, this is not about that. You might be wondering why my aunt has my Peacock account. The answer is my uncle. My dad's fiancée, Maria, and I went to go visit my grandparents, and turns out my Uncle Jerry was visiting from out of state. We visited on football night, so my grandfather, my dad, and Uncle Jerry were trying to watch the game. Bad news, whatever my grandpa uses to get his channels on his TV failed. Uncle Jerry said we could use Peacock to watch it, but since they don't have an account they'd need to pay for it. This is where I came in. I signed in on his iPad and they watched it a bit on there, but then they wanted to scale up, so I signed in on my grandparents' Fire Stick. Simple as that. They enjoyed the game and then soon we left for home. A few days pass and I don't hear anything, but then I get a text from my Aunt Melinda, Jerry's wife, saying you need to change the picture on your Peacock account. It's too scary for me and the kids. Uncle Jerry has 2 sons, and they're 10 and 7 respectively. They're also very much of the Christian faith, so I bring that up because their household is not conducive to horror. However, Freddie holds a dear place in my heart for many reasons that I won't outline here. I told Aunt Melinda that I didn't want to and she said that I still need to. I then told her if you don't want to see Freddie every time you open Peacock, get your own account. And stopped responding. Aunt Melinda isn't a particularly vindictive person, so I think that's why she didn't respond directly to me after that. Later on, I got a call from Dad asking what happened, and I had to explain. He wasn't mad per se, but wasn't exactly proud. Here's everyone's position. Aunt Melinda wants me to apologize and change my profile pic. Uncle Jerry says I should consider doing it for Aunt Melinda and the boys. Dad says that I have a point and that it's my prerogative, but says there will be an impact. Maria says that since I'm the one paying for the account, I have the final say. Mom told me I wasn't in the wrong at all and I should change my password and sign out of all devices that aren't mine. I am mentally at a stalemate personally. Should I give this up? Should I just change it? Think it'll blow over? Comment 1. NTA. You're paying and you have nothing to apologize for. She has a lot of nerve to even ask since her family is mooching off of you. And now since your whole family has something to say, I'd kick them off. Change your password and be done with it. Also, tell your dad he should have minded his own business. You're not a child anymore. And the impact is you sending a message to people that they can't walk all over you. They can't use something that you pay for, then make unreasonable demands. They can't push their faith and views onto you. You were not being disrespectful. You did not choose that picture to offend anyone. He should be proud of you for that and should be talking to his brother about how he and Aunt were inappropriate by asking this of you. Comment 2. NTA. Unless I'm mistaken, this picture isn't pornographic or anything, it's just a bit gory. If that is a big issue for their household, then the solution is for them to not access it again. You shouldn't have to change anything, but you should certainly remember this, the next time you attempted to do something nice for your aunt and uncle.